monitoring the water situation here in Kinney County for the past 3.5 years. I reviewed the technical memo from the new hydrologist, Vince Claus, hired by the district, and I have some comments. The primary issue with Vince's analysis is that it uses inaccurate and in some cases changed pumping data provided by the Kinney County Groundwater District that results in pumping data not being usable for finding correlations between pumping and spring flow. After longtime hydrologist Bill Hutchinson left the Kinney County GCD in 2025, the district took the opportunity to change the pumping numbers they were reporting. They did this in such a way as to reduce the amount of pumping that took place when Lost Morris Springs was failing and increase it in places where Lost Morris Springs was flowing, thus making it appear pumping has less impact on the springs. This data was then given to Vince Claus, who appears to have not validated it, and resulted in a poor relationship between pumping and spring flow in his multivariate regression model. Additionally, Vince omits information from his analysis that supports the conclusion that spring flow is impacted by pumping. Nowhere in his report does he address the fact that we've had a well monitoring network in place for over 10 years in this county, with over 30 wells that show 70, 80, and in some cases 90% correlations to areas with large amounts of pumping and Lost Morris Springs. Although he identifies that pumping has increased over the last 5 years and spring flow has dramatically decreased, he obscures this information and makes it unclear. Pumping has almost tripled over the last 5 years, and spring flow has been reduced by 80% over that same time period. All the while, rainfall has only decreased by 17% over that same time period. Vince fails to highlight this. He also fails to mention that if the DFC stays in place, the county will have failed to meet this legal threshold a 6th year in a row. The DFC requires average annual spring flow to be above 23.9 CFS. The last 6 years, spring flow for the year has averaged 12, 7, 6, 3, 6, and 4. Rather than voting to protect spring flow, this board is voting to remove spring flow protections and has already approved 2 increases to pumping limits this year for current and former board members. In summary, this move to take away the DFC protecting spring flow is at direct odds with the purpose of this water district. And Vince Claus has been hired not as a scientist, but as an advocate to build the case on behalf of a water board that is serving their own interests as pumpers and pumper contractors, rather than the interests of Kinney County residents. Do we believe that a hired hydrologist with a history of working for large water exporters in the state and who omits critical correlation data from his recommendation to remove spring flow protections is a credible source of science for this board or anyone
Just have it removed.
to believe that this board made up of pumper contractors that uses social ostracization to pressure community members
We're not listening to you.
and who leverages a rule unique to Kinney County that requires a majority of boards.
Okay.